together. Don't worry. No, don't stop. Oh, hang on. This is going to come on.
Wait, sorry, man.
No, you look lovely. Don't start. We're almost at the start. Would you like to, would you like to start now? You can come.
Wait, do we have to turn off the mic?
Because you've got your video.
Oh, we're not going to do the video.
Okay, that's fine.
No, we're not going to do that.
Okay, we should start this.
Good evening. My name is Wafa Islam, and I am here to talk about the denial of education. Education is very important. It enables us to read, reason, and communicate. We all have had our education needs met, and we are now global citizens. But did you know there are about 150 million children in the world who are illiterate and cannot receive an education? The result of being uneducated is far-reaching and can lead to poverty, disempowerment, and slavery. The most life-threatening obstacle is poverty. This issue is like a disease and can spread around very quickly. Poverty means you lack important necessities. This means you don't have enough money to go to school. Money itself will not stop poverty. It may give a family food and water for a week, but they may not know the correct way to use it. This is where education comes along. It gives them the power to use their money wisely and educate their children and break out of the poverty cycle. Another problem is war. Children living in war zones have to live in refugee camps and wait a long time for the war to be over. If the schools are bombed and the teachers are killed, the children cannot have an education. If the children are injured or become ill, they do not have the capacity to learn. The next problem is the teachers' working conditions. What good is an uneducated and untrained teacher who cannot provide children with life skills and make them productive members of society? Some teachers have to work for a long time and receive insufficient pay. Sometimes, teachers become ill or get diseases and schools have to be closed until the teacher can resume to work. Beliefs and religion also plays a big part in education. For example, in Afghanistan, girls are not to be educated. They consider girls to be property. In 2010 in Pakistan, a 19-year-old girl had acid thrown in her face by a Taliban member because she was going to school. These are only a few of the many obstacles that contribute to the denial of education: poverty, governments, beliefs, and teacher working conditions. Organizations are made up of people with a certain purpose or a goal. Many humanitarian organizations work to help make the world a better place. They try to solve issues and educate others about their passions. In 2000, 189 countries made a pledge to free people from poverty and other deprivation. These goals became the United Nations Millennium Development Goals. These are a set of goals which are to be achieved by 2015. Save the Children is an organization that creates change and affects children globally. Save the Children's goal is to resolve the ongoing struggles children face every day and replace them with hope for the future. Save the Children works with other organizations, governments, and local people. In 2010, Save the Children reached more than 11 million children in 39 countries, with programs for basic education and literacy. Save the Children's program, Rewrite Your Future, launched in 2006, helps children get a quality education. Schools for Africa is a program established and run by UNICEF to educate illiterate children in Africa. It was launched in Cape Town on December 6, 2004. Schools for Africa's goal is to persuade children to go to school, keep them there, and provide them with a safe environment where they can learn and play. Nelson Mandela once stated, "No child in Africa, and in fact anywhere in the world, should be denied an education." After learning about the factors that contribute to the denial of education, I felt motivated and I wanted to help those less fortunate than me. Our group has made an animated movie to raise awareness about education. We also have made small clay dolls and tags which we will be selling for 150 yen. The money we will be receiving is going to UNICEF. But want to remind you to think about the messages written on them from what you learned from our animation.
Good evening. My name is Fiona Tarai. My topic is children's rights and racism. I have been researching about this for 6 weeks. I am going to explain how racism is wrong, the organizations that are helping children, and the people who act against racism, and lastly, how I will take action. Racism is the belief that states human beings can be divided or classed according to their race, religion, politics, and values. In 1965, United States, there were laws to discriminate against people according to their color of their skin. The laws were called Jim Crow laws. If you didn't follow the law, you could be arrested and be detained. The laws defined that Caucasian people and African American people should be treated differently. Because of Jim Crow laws, African American people tended to have little money. The families with children used most of their money for school fees. Some families did not even have money for school. In those families, the children sometimes even had to help their parents get water. Caucasian people had rights, but African American people had fewer rights. Having rights and having fewer rights makes a really big change in a person's life. There are many groups and people that are opposed to racism and fighting for children's rights. UNICEF is very well known for helping children. It is helping children all over the world by giving water, food, advice, and shelter. The late Martin Luther King Jr. is remembered for his acts against racism. He fought for civil rights of African American people, which resulted in a great benefit for children. He was once in jail for his acts, but never stopped. Ruby Bridges was the first African American child to attend the elementary school in the United States with only Caucasian children. Elizabeth Eckford was one of the first African American students ever to attend classes of Little Rock Central High School. Elizabeth and Ruby both encouraged many fellow African Americans that was eager to study at better school. They helped African Americans think even strongly that they have the same rights as Caucasians. Racism is clearly wrong. Ruby Bridges, who is now 58, says racism is a good, grown-up disease and we must stop using our children to spread it. I totally agree with her. I will help children by giving money, by buying supplies that are sold on UNICEF. By doing this, UNICEF could give money to children. I will help the children that are victims of racism by telling how racism is wrong. I learned that racism is everywhere. It is not an issue that exists in a country far away. It is here in Japan, and I was shocked to learn that it even exists among fellow Japanese. I will take every caution against racism and take whatever action necessary against it. What I could do might be small, but to make a difference, I believe that it is important to act.
Good evening. My name is Anna Clara Borga, and I'm going to explain about children's rights. First of all, I believe that every child in the world should have the right to freedom, to choice, to education, and many more. Today I'm going to focus on children's rights to education, which begins the moment they are born and extends throughout their lives. Have you ever wondered how you, as an adult, would be feeling today if you had not had an education? Everyone in this room has an acceptable level of education which enables them to function well. There are about 150 million children in the world who are not educated. That is almost Japan's entire population. Can you imagine how it feels, not being able to read the pages of your favorite book or count the change in your hands after buying potatoes in the market? This is the result of lack of education. We are lucky. We live in a country where education is one of the government's first priorities. Next, I'm going to tell you how and what organizations do to help the children in need of education. I'll mention 3 organizations: UNICEF, one of the most important, Free the Children, and Save the Children. These 3 organizations work extremely hard to improve education in children's lives. There are 5 key elements that affect the quality of education: what the students bring to learning, the environment, content, process, and the outcomes. Each of the organizations I researched help children achieve some of these elements so that the children have a safe and healthy learning lifestyle. The first organization I will present is UNICEF, which was created on December 11, 1946 to provide emergency food and health care to children in countries that has been destroyed by World War II. UNICEF works all over the world. In developed countries, UNICEF raises money to help developing countries. For example, every Halloween day in the U.S., children around the ages of 5 through 12 decorate milk cartons and go from house to house to collect money to help poor children. UNICEF also works with governments. For example, in Colombia, help build schools in rural areas so that the children have a safe place to study. Another organization is Free the Children, that works to help disadvantaged children receive an education. It was created in 1995 with 3 guiding principles: eradicate, engage, and empower. Free the Children holds different events to raise awareness on education problems, such as We Day, a concert where many famous people sing or make speeches. For example, Jane Goodall, Jason Mraz, Dalai Lama, and many more have participated. Another event is 5 Days for Freedom. This is a 5-day event where people from all over the world get together to raise money to help the children worldwide. Save the Children was created in 1919 in the United Kingdom to help the children affected by World War I. Save the Children works in 120 countries and provides safe play kits to children in countries where there is conflict. This organization lets you take action too by donating money or becoming a fundraiser and doing volunteer work. Most importantly, Save the Children helps provide disadvantaged children with education. This allows children to grow into healthy adults who have a say in their future with choices and rights to a better life and a better world. The organization that impressed me the most was Free the Children, because it was founded in 1995 by Craig Helberger, a 12-year-old boy. This proves that no matter what age you are, you can always make a difference. Today, Free the Children is the world's largest network of children helping children through education, with more than 1 million young members. Do you think you have the power to take action? Do you think it's possible to make a change in a child's life? Taking action is hard, but if you put your time, effort, and passion, the result will be positive and will contribute to change the lives of one person or many people. There are many ways that we can take action to create a change in the world, and these are some examples. 1. Donate money to collection boxes by the cash registers. 2. Prepare pamphlets to promote homeschooling among children who live far away from school and cannot travel every day. 3. Gather information and suggest the use of multi-shift schooling. 4. Help organizations organize and run fundraising events for needy. 5. Participate in volunteer work. So now that you have learned more about this issue, how will you take action?
Good evening. My name is Aashi and I'm here today to talk about child education. Every child is entitled to a free, high-quality education. However, many children, especially girls, are out of reach for completing their basic primary education from ages 5 to 12. The reason why child education is denied is because of gender inequality, cultural reasons, corruption, instability of the country, laws, and economic issues. I have researched on economic issues linked to child education. Economic issues on a macro level affect child education by the state of the country's economic wealth, which includes GDP. GDP growth is similar to the income growth of the country. For example, India's government currently only spends 3% of its GDP on developing child education, which is insufficient. This is the economic issue that affects child education directly at a macro level. But how? North America and Western Europe spend about $5,000 per student each year, whereas Sub-Saharan Africa only spend $167. Economic issues on a micro level affect child education at a personal or a local level, such as illiteracy, poverty, unemployment, disparity of income, and child labor. Illiterate children do not have much money or assets to fund education. Illiterate children become illiterate adults with fewer choices other than poverty. Illiteracy not only blanks the future of kids, it also affects the nation economically. This is why we who are fortunate should support the poor to break the poverty cycle. Next, I'd like to talk about 2 organizations and an individual who picked up the challenge to give children their right to education. The first organization is called Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. SSA is a program launched by the Indian government whose aim is to provide useful and quality education to every child between the ages of 6 and 12 by 2010. Their target was to complete it by 2010, but they could not achieve it. That's why they are still working on it. The next organization is a program launched by many organizations such as UNESCO, UNDP, UNFPA, UNICEF, and the World Bank. The program is called Education for All. Education for All, its aim is to provide quality basic education to every child, youth, and adult by 2015. Next, I'd like to talk about an individual called Pooja Mishra, who is very determined to give the village children an education and let them follow their dreams and ambitions. Pooja Mishra was born in a small city in India called Raebareli. She grew up to be a bright student and landed herself with a lucrative career as a computer science engineer. But she thought all of this was meaningless if she did not use her knowledge for something useful. So she gave up her job and took her forefathers' land to create a school and a college for those who were deprived of an education. I believe Pooja Mishra is a very determined, sacrificing person who the world needs today. Lastly, I'd like to talk about how you can take action and how I have taken action on the issue. These are my solutions to fight illiteracy. First solution is use of technology. This world is flooded with expensive devices with mobile penetration over 1 in developed areas. But why don't we use these devices to needy children? Is it a want or a need for us to have it?